75. The mortal led, the God and the Spirit obeyed. But to the woman, Death, the God, replied, with the ironic laughter of his voice, discouraging the labor of the stars. Even so, men cheat the truth with splendid thoughts. Daub not the web of life with magic hues. Make rather thy thought a plain and faithful glass, reflecting matter and mortality, and know thy soul a product of the flesh, a made-up self in a constructed world. Thy words are large murmurs in a mystic dream. But Savitri replied to the dire God, yes, I am human, yet shall man by me, since in humanity waits his hour the God, trampled thee down to reach the immortal heights, transcending grief and pain and fate and death. Yes, my humanity is a mask of God. He dwells in me, the mover of my acts, turning the great wheel of his cosmic work. I am the living body of his light. In me are the nameless and the secret name. Death from the incredulous darkness sent its cry. O priestess in imagination's house, persuade first nature's fixed, immutable laws, and make the impossible thy daily work. Where matter is all, there spirit is a dream. If all are the spirit, matter is a lie. The real with the unreal cannot mate. He who would turn to God must leave the world. He who would live in the spirit must give up life. He who has met the self renounces self. Two only are the doors of man's escape: death of his body, matter's gate to peace; death of his soul, his last felicity. In me all take refuge, for I, death, am God. But Savitri replied to mighty death, my heart is wiser than the reason's thoughts. My heart is stronger than thy bonds, O death. It sees and feels the one heart beat in all. It feels the high transcendence sun-like hands. It sees the cosmic spirit at its work. In the dim night, it lies alone with God. It can drink up the sea of all delight and never lose the white spiritual touch, the calm that broods in the deep infinite. he said. Art thou indeed so strong, O heart, O soul so free? And canst thou gather then bright pleasure from my wayside flowering boughs? Yet falter not from thy hard journey's goal. Meet the world's dangerous touch and never fall? Show me thy strength and freedom from my laws. But Savitri answered, surely I shall find among the green and whispering woods of life close-bosomed pleasures, only mine since his, or mine for him, because our joys are one. All is a single plan. Each wayside act deepens the soul's response, brings nearer the goal. Death, the contemptuous nihil, answered her, so prove thy absolute force to the wise gods. My will, once wrought, remains unchanged through time, and Satyavan can never again be thine. But Savitri replied to the vague power, if the eyes of darkness can look straight at truth, look at my heart, and knowing what I am, give what thou wilt or what thou must, O death. Nothing I claim but Satyavan alone. There was a hush, as if of doubtful fates. As one disdainful still, who yields a point, Death bowed his sovereign head in cold assent. I give to thee, saved from death and poignant fate, whatever once the living Satyavan desired in his heart for Savitri. Bright noons I give thee, and unwounded dawns, daughters of thy own shape in heart and mind, fair hero sons, and sweetness undisturbed of union with thy husband dear and true. And thou shalt harvest in thy joyful house felicity of thy surrounded eaves. Love shall bind thee by many, love shall bind by thee many gathered hearts. The opposite sweetness in thy days shall meet. Of tender service to thy life's desired and loving empire, over all thy loved, two poles of bliss made one, O Savitri. Return, O child, to thy forsaken earth. But Savitri replied, thy gifts resist. Earth cannot flower if lonely I return. Then Death once more sent forth his angry cry, as chides a lion his escaping prey. What knowest thou of earth's rich and changing life, who thinkst that one man dead, all joy must cease? Hope not to be unhappy till the end. But Savitri replied to the vague god, "Give me back Satyavan, my only lord. Thy thoughts are vacant to my soul that feels the deep, eternal truth in transient things." Death answered her, "Return and try thy soul. Soon shalt thou find appeased that other men on lavish earth have beauty, strength, and truth. And when thou hast half forgotten one of these, shall wind himself around thy heart, that needs some human answering heart against thy breast. For who, being mortal, can dwell glad alone? Then Satyavan shall glide into the past, a gentle memory pushed away from thee by new love and thy children's tender hands, till thou shalt wonder if thou lovest at all. Such is the life earth's travail has conceived, a constant stream that never is the same. But Savitri replied to mighty death, "O dark, ironic critic of God's work, thou mockst the mind and body's faltering search. Why dost thou vainly strive with me, O death? Now at last I know, beyond all doubt, the great stars burn with my unceasing fire, and life and death are both its fuel made. Life only was my blind attempt to love. Earth saw my struggle, heaven my victory. All shall be seized, transcended. There shall kiss, casting their veils before the marriage fire, the eternal bridegroom and eternal bride. The heavens accept our broken flights at last." She spoke. The boundless members of the god, as if by secret ecstasy assailed, shuddered in silence as obscurely stir ocean's dim fields delivered to the moon. But now her spirit's flame of conscious force, her spirit's flame of conscient force, retiring from a sweetness without fruit, called back her thoughts from speech to sit within in a deep room in meditation's house. For only there could dwell the soul's firm truth, imperishable, a tongue of sacrifice. It flamed unquenched upon the central hearth, where burns for the high house lord and his mate the homestead's sentinel and witness fire, from which the altars of the gods are lit. All still compelled, went gliding on unchanged. Still was the order of these worlds reversed. The mortal led, the god and spirit obeyed, and she behind was leader of their march, and they in front were followers of her will. Onward they journeyed through the drifting ways, vaguely companioned by the glimmering mists. But faster now all fled, as if perturbed, escaping from the clearness of her soul. A heaven bird upon jeweled wings of wind, borne like a colored and embosomed fire, by spirits carried in a pearl-hued cave. On through the enchanted dimness moved her soul. Death walked in front of her and Satyavan. In the dark front of death, a failing star. Above was the unseen balance of his fate.